creating authentic power is now our necessity if we intend to evolve. We don't need to create it, but if we don't evolve. If I want to evolve, I need to create authentic power. What does AI have to do with human behavior? Quite a bit. Just the way the discovery of gunpowder had quite a bit to do with human behavior, and the discovery of agriculture, and the discovery of the internet, and the discovery of spacecraft. All of these changed human behavior, and AI is changing human behavior also. So the question is, although AI is affecting and will affect human behavior, is it affecting human evolution? Artificial intelligence is not now contributing to human evolution and never will. The human species to evolve requires you. I'm so glad to talk with you today, or tonight, or this evening, or whenever it is you're listening to this podcast, because whenever you're listening or whenever you're watching, this topic, as all topics on this podcast, are going to be relevant to you. And the words I'm going to use to describe this topic are artificial intelligence. So AI has become completely commonplace since the first appearance of ChatGPT and regenerative or generative intelligence. It's shaping everything. Students are using it to plagiarize. Professors are using it to catch them. Companies are using it to make their advertisements much more effective and addictive. Psychologists are helping them. AI is helping everyone to do whatever they were doing before the appearance of AI, except that AI makes them more effective. So what were you doing before AI appeared? What was your life like? Were you living in love or were you living in fear? What's the difference? When you're living in fear, you're experiencing emotions such as gratitude, appreciation, caring, contentment, awe of the universe, patience. That's love. You're open to people. You're open to connection. You are a connection. And people sense that in you and they want that connection with you. What is fear? Anger, jealousy, resentment, inferiority, overwhelm, anxiety, longing, needfulness that can't be fulfilled, emptiness. So what were you doing before AI? Was it love or was it fear? I want to suggest something. You were doing both. You were doing both because you are a personality in the Earth School. The Earth School is a domain of time and space and matter and duality, and it is a learning environment. A learning environment for souls, but not in the way that you might think. Souls don't put on, well, they do. They put on a school suit and they go into the learning environment, and that is called an incarnation. You are a partial incarnation of a soul. A soul is immortal. Your soul existed before you were born, and it will exist after you die. So in other words, when you sense that you have an immortal aspect of yourself, that's your soul. And that sense you have is accurate. That's a part of the new consciousness. Let's call it multisensory consciousness, and we'll go into that in much more detail later. That means that everything that happens to you as a personality in the Earth School, as an incarnation, serves one purpose, the evolution of your soul. Everything in the Earth School serves that. And now you are becoming consciously a part of that. That wasn't the old consciousness. From the perspective of the old consciousness, the soul didn't even exist. It was some Christian fantasy or concept or theological theory. It required belief, in other words, or faith. In the new consciousness, that's not necessary. You experience your soul. If someone says to you, are you more than a body and a mind? Think about it. What do you feel? It'd be obvious to you. Well, yes, of course I am. And I can say that with confidence because you're listening to this podcast. If you were five sensory and someone said, are you more than a body and a mind? You would say, well, what else is there? The difference is that great. We are multisensory. We are becoming aware and awake in the Earth School of what? Of non-physical reality. Of that from which we came and that which is still the home of your soul. And it's your soul, a part of it, that has incarnated into the incarnation that is you. That is the personality that I've been asking this question, are you more than a mind and a body? And to which you've been answering, of course. Why do you keep asking that? Because it's obvious that you are. That's the new consciousness. So now I'm asking, what were you doing before AI appeared? And I'm suggesting you were doing exactly what you're doing now. You're experiencing sometimes loving parts of your personality that feel grateful and appreciative and caring and are in awe of the universe. And sometimes you're experiencing parts of your personality that originate in fear, that are jealous and resentful, overwhelmed, despairing, can't see a future ahead, and desperately need to see one. All of these things are experiences of fear. In other words, love and fear, and this distinction between them, did not appear when AI appeared. And they are not going to disappear. The Earth School is a domain of duality. And the fundamental duality is love and fear. There are lots of dualities, big and little, male, female, white, black, large, small. But the bedrock can't get any deeper. This is the bottom of this realm of duality. That duality is love and fear. And that duality has existed as long as personalities have existed, as long as there have been humans on the earth. I don't have the wisdom or the knowledge to talk about other species in other places, but I have some knowledge and wisdom about ours because I'm one of us. And I've been learning from that perspective, and so are you. And that's what I want to bring to your attention. This learning process was in motion before AI. It was in motion before the internet. It was in motion before electronic communication, space travel. It was in motion before agriculture. And it's in motion now. The difference is we're becoming aware of it. Human evolution is becoming conscious, and this is how it works. When a five-sensory individual is angry, that personality thinks, I'm angry. I used to be that way. I would tell people, I'm angry. Yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it. I'm always going to be angry because I couldn't do then what I can do now. When I feel anger, I can look inside myself instead of at the world, because five-sensory individuals think that the world is responsible for what they're feeling. But what if it weren't? That's not an if. It's not. As we become multisensory, we begin to see that there are interior dynamics, interior in us, interior in me, interior in you. And it's these interior dynamics that create our painful and blissful emotional experiences. These interior dynamics are exactly what I have been referring to as loving parts of your personality and frightened parts of your personality. So when a five-sensory individual, incarnation, is feeling pain, the first thing that person will do is look to the world to see what's causing that pain, because the belief, the unalterable belief, is that all of our experiences are created by what happens in the world. When a multisensory individual experiences a painful or a loving experience, he or she looks inside, away from the world, the outside world, and into yourself, at these interior dynamics, at the loving and frightened parts of your personality. The new consciousness also has a new power. Power in the old consciousness is manipulation and control. We've known that throughout our history as a species. Every dynasty, Japanese, Chinese, Mongolian, every empire, Roman, Alexander's, British, is based on fear. It's based on manipulating and controlling the world. And the need to do that is deep and desperate, because within each human there is a pain of powerlessness. It's the pain of not belonging and wanting to belong, desperately needing to belong. It's the pain of not feeling good enough to be on the team, and the team is everyone else. It's the feeling of being intrinsically flawed, inherently defective, and it's excruciating. And 5 sensory personalities have it, and multisensory personalities have it. But they have different ways of dealing with it. 5 sensory humans look to the world and try to change it. That is the old power, external power, manipulation and control. Multisensory humans with the new consciousness look inside themselves, and they change inside themselves what is causing these experiences. And the new power for the new consciousness is alignment of the personality with the soul. The soul doesn't even exist for 5 sensory humans. They need to believe in it or have faith in it, but not multisensory humans. That's the part of you that you know is an aspect of yourself that existed before you were born and will continue to exist after you die. The intentions of your soul are harmony, cooperation, sharing, and reverence for life. As you align yourself with that, with the intentions of your soul, you become powerful in a new way, very different from externally powerful, which means you have the ability to manipulate and control. Authentically powerful means you have the ability to cooperate, to create harmony, to harmonize, to share, and to revere life. That's power. Do you have it? You do. It comes up now and then. But you don't think of it as power because the overhang, you might say, of the old consciousness is everywhere. But creating authentic power is now our necessity if we intend to evolve. We don't need to create it, but if we don't evolve. And by the we, I'm including you and me and everyone else. If I want to evolve, I need to create authentic power. How to learn to create and intend harmony and cooperation and sharing and reverence for life, instead of intend to manipulate and control so that I'll feel better, or so that a frightened part of my personality will feel better. All of this was happening before AI came on the scene, and it will continue. So the question is, what's AI have to do with any of this? Let's break that down. What does AI have to do with human behavior? Quite a bit. Just the way the discovery of gunpowder had quite a bit to do with human behavior, and the discovery of agriculture, and the discovery of the telegraph, and the discovery of the internet, and the discovery of spacecraft. All of these changed human behavior. And AI is changing human behavior also. Is that all there is to us, is behavior? No. There is much, much more. And that much, much more is becoming visible to us as we acquire the new consciousness, as it emerges in us, and as we emerge in it. So the question is, although AI is affecting and will affect human behavior, is it affecting human evolution? Let's look at that more carefully. What does it require to create authentic power? It requires the heart. The heart is the heart, you might say, of the new power. That means that to create authentic power, it's necessary that you experience your emotions. It's necessary that you experience your intentions. It's necessary for you to experience within yourself meaning and purpose. It's necessary for you to experience within yourself the difference between love and fear. And I'm not talking about differences in the behavior of a loving person and a frightened person, of a loving part of the personality and a frightened part of the personality. I'm talking about the experience itself. So now we're asking, can AI affect human evolution? What is AI? AI is an abbreviation, as everyone except people in the most remote parts of the world know, means artificial intelligence. But it is not artificial. It is simulating everything that the intellect can do. Let me say that again. Artificial intelligence is not artificial. We've had it since we've had an intellect. Our intellect surveys and explores five-sensory data that the five senses can provide it, what can be seen and heard and tasted and touched and smelled. And from that data, it draws conclusions. And not just simple conclusions. It can be the theory of general relativity. And more than that, the theory of special relativity. And more than that, quantum theory. But all of that, it presents to its personality as ways that it has decided. Decided is operative in this sentence. Are helpful to its personality in the pursuit of external power. There's one thing I want to add about the difference between the old understanding of power and the new understanding of power. The old understanding of power is more than evolutionarily obsolete. It is destructive. It is poisonous. It is toxic. It prevents our evolution. And this can be confusing at first because it used to be our good medicine. We needed external power in order to evolve when we were a five-sensory species that evolved by surviving. Now we're becoming a multi-sensory species that evolves by growing spiritually. And it grows spiritually by creating authentic power. Artificial intelligence, when you interact with it, can do nothing more than your intellect can do, but can do it a lot more of it, a lot faster. In other words, it recognizes patterns. That's all artificial, quote, artificial intelligence is. It's not really even as good as your intelligence. It recognizes patterns. When an organization such as OpenAI has billions of dollars at its disposal, it can ask, it can feed its program information. And this is important because someone decides what it's going to feed and what it's not going to feed. Currently, what it's fed is everything on the internet. But there's some things that aren't on the internet. But whatever it's fed, it is trained. It's called trained to recognize when data that has been fed is used in a way that is congruent with how it has been trained. How is it trained? This program is asked questions. If you've just got a team of 3 or 4 developers, maybe you can ask it 1,000 or 2 questions. But when you've got supercomputers at your disposal, you can ask it 1,000,000,000,000 questions. And you can evaluate each one of its answers and then start to select those answers that are closer to accurate until you get to an acceptable level of accuracy, which now at this state, well, depends upon who the developer is. Maybe it's 97%. Maybe it's 87% if they're a bit sloppy. But that's artificial intelligence. It's pattern recognition. That's not going to evolve the human species. The human species, to evolve, requires you. And that's what we're going to look at in the next podcast in detail. You and how you contribute to human evolution and why artificial intelligence is not now contributing to human evolution and never will. That's a big statement. And I'm looking forward to discussing it with you. If you're enjoying anything you're hearing on this podcast, subscribe to it. Now, what do I mean by enjoy? Do I mean, is it entertaining for you? Does it make you laugh? Does it make you forget your worries? That's not what I mean. I mean, do you resonate with anything that I say as relevant, profound, and pertinent for you, not for the world, for you? Something that you can use, something that you can experiment with in your life. If you do, if you resonate, then subscribe, because there's more where this comes from. It comes from the universe, as do you. So here's a soul step. Between now and our next podcast, take out your soul notebook and your soul ballpoint pen, which should be small enough to fit in your purse or in your rear jeans pocket or in your day pack anyway, and write down anything that I've said in this podcast. And if you have to listen to it again, that's good. Go ahead. Anything that you resonate with, write it down. And then look at how often you have applied that in your life and what it produced for you. That is your soul step between now and our next podcast. Because I'm going to ask you to do that again and again and begin to distinguish between what one thing you resonate with produces in your life and what another thing resonates, produces in your life. In this case, we're acting a little bit like artificial intelligence, except that the data requires a lot more than the 5 senses can provide, than the intellect can provide. Until the next time we meet, I'd suggest that you think on these things, but that's not so much important now as I suggest you feel about these things and see what you feel about the things that you've resonated with. It's a joy to be with you. I'm Gary Zukav.